We spend a lot of time together, and we more or less have a real team concept here, and I think that's important.
Hampton knew John Wayne. When Hampton shows up, something great's going to happen. When you go into war with Hamp, that's great, because if he can walk, he's going to play, and he'll make great plays.
Brock under pressure.
He was really, to me, the key to the 46 defense, because he created the havoc in the middle of the field that allowed others to make the plays. He was the guy who absorbed all the double teams and who I think really most offensive coaches game plan for.
Hampton had 9 sacks or more in a season 5 times, and he was named to the All-NFL team of the 1980s.
I think Dan Hampton, although he hurt his knees, he was unblockable and really tough as a tackle.
In 2002, he was elected to the Hall of Fame, and even in Canton, he was thinking about his teammates.
Leave here today, and I go back over and I walk into that sacred ground. I'm thinking about everyone I played, from high school to college to Chicago. Like I said, today you know why I've never walked alone.
Dan Hampton was willing to sacrifice his body and his mind for the success of a team. Dan Hampton was symbolic of what being a Bear is all about.
The man who played alongside Hampton for 9 seasons will also play alongside him on our starting 11. Defensive tackle, Steve McMichael.
When I walked out the tunnel, not too much mattered to me. I didn't, that was all superficial. The mechanism is cleared, tunnel vision. Here's where I want to do, and this is where I want to go. And nobody's going to stop me from that.
Steve McMichael is a very deranged, very unstable person.
Nobody was tougher than McMichael, who was like a guy who hunted rattlesnakes barehanded.
Steve McMichael, to me, was the embodiment of the tough Bears defenses of the mid-'80s. He was the most consistent, most durable, most try-hard guy you'd ever find in your life.
Despite being selected in the 3rd round, McMichael didn't even last a half a season in New England.
Got him from New England Patriots. We wanted to make a center out of him, but when I saw his personality, I knew that he'd be a great defensive player.
McMichael would be great, making 2 Pro Bowls, recording 92.5 sacks, and being the all-time Bears leader in games played. But he still went unnoticed at times because he played alongside other greats.
That's often the case in a lot of teams. You have one good player, there's usually 2. If you look closely enough, one might be more famous, but the reason he's famous and the reason he's good is he's got a sidekick.
Our defense was me and Hampton in the middle and Richard Dent at the end. All the other defenses had 2 great ends and 1 defensive tackle, not 2.
Walker the long back inside the 15. Wilson back to the throws the right side. The ball kicked in the air, intercepted. The man who kicked it was Steve McMichael.
Steve McMichael was, in a lot of ways, I think, the heart of the defense. So obviously he was a big part of everything the Bears accomplished in the 80s.
Playing with arguably the 2 best tackles in Bears history did help improve the game of William Perry. Perry still will always be known for his touchdown runs, even though he had just 5 carries in 1985 and just 8 carries in his career.
That's not what I remember William Perry for. He did such a great job of clogging things up that allowed everybody else to go more. He took up a man-and-a-half space, not just by being there, but he was quick in a 5-yard area.
Although he gained a lot of notoriety during his rookie season, Fridge proved he wasn't a flash in the pan, becoming a solid defensive tackle for 8 more years. Perry wasn't the only popular defensive lineman to moonlight on offense. Defensive tackle Jim Flanagan had 11 sacks in 1995. Flanagan also caught 4 passes in his career, all for touchdowns.
Kramer takes, makes the handoff, pops the right side of the end zone. Touchdown! Flanagan! Jim Flanagan on the touchdown!
Current defensive tackle Tommy Harris does not play offense, although he does spend a lot of time in the opponent's backfield.
Tommy Harris is the key to the Bears' current defense that they play at the three-technique tackle. He has that great first step, explosive first step. Without Tommy Harris, the Bears' Tampa 2 scheme really doesn't work.
Harris, the 14th overall pick in the 2004 draft, has made the Pro Bowl 3 times in his first 4 years.
Quick hitter to Tommy Harris knocked it out. Bears have it. What a play!
Harris's teammate, Adewale Agunleye, had 35.5 sacks in his first 5 seasons in Chicago.
And down he goes! Adewale Agunleye!
Adewale has all those techniques that a defensive lineman needs, and there's times in games he can be an absolutely spectacular player.
But Agunleye has a long way to go to match the sack totals of the final member of our starting defensive line, Richard Dent.
In 1983, Bill Tobin was the director of scouting. Tobin loved Richard Dent. He played at a small school. Nobody knew about him. They didn't know his potential.
Richard Dent was like a diamond in the rough. Of course, when we got him, he was 235 pounds.
Very undersized. No one thought much of him. He was an 8th-round draft pick. And the problem had been up to that point is that he had poor dental work. That's why he was so undersized. And once when he got to the Bears, he got his teeth fixed. And he instantly put on weight and became this monster football player.
And down he goes. A loss of yardage.
Fast and aggressive, Richard Dent blossomed from the 203rd pick in the draft into the best pass rusher the Bears ever had. Dent reached double-digit numbers in sacks 8 times, and his 124.5 sacks put him atop the Bears' career list.
Richard Dent was a guy who, his speed coming around the end was really kind of rivaled only by somebody like Lawrence Taylor.
I mean, he was quicker than a cat. I mean, he could come off that ball. He was unbelievable. I mean, the tackle had to be really on his toes to get his hands on him.
In 1985, Dent had one of the best seasons ever for a defensive player. He led the NFL with 17 sacks, was named first-team All-Pro, and helped the Bears win the Super Bowl, where he was named MVP.
He became a real force. I mean, he never lost the quickness, but he had all that power and strength to go with it. Should be a Hall of Famer. Don't know why he isn't.
If you look at a pass rusher that was able to dominate stretches of the football game for the most dominant defense, ever, the '85 Bears, Richard Dent deserves his shot and his place in the Hall of Fame too.
Richard Dent was a key member of one of the greatest defensive schemes in NFL history, Buddy Ryan's 46 defense.
46 defense be a defense that was created because all the linebackers were hurt. And as it evolved, it is all about pressure.
You stop a passing game, you can't stop it unless you put pressure on. Now, some people are good enough to put it on with a 3-man rush. Well, we're not. In fact, I don't know what we're good enough to put it on with a 4-man rush. If we have to send 8, we'll send 8. We're not going to let you sit back there and pick us apart.
We're going to put 11 guys on the field, and we're going to come at you from all different directions, and we're not going to stop. And we're going to hit your quarterback until you get another one in. But we're going to keep coming, and we're going to keep you guessing, and we're going to keep you thinking.
We had, at every position, aggressive players, and they were smart. They were experienced. Buddy used to always say, young rhymes with dumb.
We do have intelligent players, and we do ask them to use their brain as well as their brawn, and they like it because when they go somewhere else and they tell them just to do it harder, they know there's a more intelligent way to approach a situation, and we try to give them that situation and let them use their intelligence. And, offensive coaches, they like to think they're good. They run people over the field and put them in motion and do all this, and they want you to stand over and let them do what they want to. They don't like it when you don't.
The thing that we wanted to do, and the 46 allowed us to do, was really audible. When we went out there and the offense was trying to set us up for plays or whatever that they really wanted to run, and the quarterback would audible, and I would audible and put us back where we were before.
In 1985, the Bears boasted one of the best defensive units ever assembled. They led the league in points allowed, holding opponents to 10 or less 11 times in 16 games, and were first in takeaways with 54. or nearly 3.5 per game.
They were cocky, arrogant. They'd tell you what they're going to do to you, and as long as they did it, you know, I didn't consider that bragging.
I never seen the team 15-1 talk so much, you know?
As dominant as they were in the regular season, they were even better in the playoffs. First, they shut out the Giants. Then the Rams.
Back to pass, the right hand. And hammered down. He got the ball. Picked up by Wilbur Marshall. Marshall running across. Go! That's Woody. Woody. He'll go all the way. All right. Touchdown. There they go. What a way to hit. Oh. Wilbur Marshall has scored for the Chicago Bears.
In Super Bowl 20, they forced 6 turnovers, allowed just 7 rushing yards, 123 total yards, and scored twice.
Over the left side he goes. Now there's Reggie Orange down the right side. Touchdown! I'll tell you what, this defense has been incredible. They knock your socks off just to watch it. Total decimation to the AFC champion New England Patriots.
We had so much passion for the game and so much pride in what we did. It's rare that you get a group of guys together. I can't think of anybody that wants to win more than Otis Wilson. I can't think of anybody that wants to be the best more than Dan Hampton. I can't think of anybody that wants to go to the Super Bowl more than Gary Fensick. I can't think of anybody that wants to be dominant more than Wilbur Marshall. I can't think of anybody that wants to come off the ball like Richard Dent and get to the quarterback every down. Can't think of anybody like Steve McMichael. Can't think of anybody like Fridge. I can't think of anybody like that.
The 1985 Bears defense is considered one of the best of all time. But while fans can name their front 7 by heart, it becomes tougher for some to identify the members of the secondary.
And Dieter Brock back to throw, looking right now, looks over the middle. He pops it up. Intercepted by Les Frazier.
The secondary didn't get its due, but they were all part of this thing too. You can't take them out of it.
Their corners never got a whole lot of publicity. They had to cover people man on man.
You know, playing man-to-man coverage as much as we did with our 46 defense, those guys had it covered pretty well.
I think it took a bizarre, genius-type disconnect from reality to think you could do this. Because you're very vulnerable when you do that. Because that wide receiver, if he gets past our corners, he's gone. Well, the 46, you have to say, you cornerbacks are going to be so good for the first 10 yards on the wide receivers that no quarterback's going to have a chance to throw.
The Bears' best corner in 1985 was Leslie Frazier, who started every game and led the team with 6 interceptions.
Les Frazier, as good a cover corner as ever played in those years.
Frazier had 20 interceptions in his first 65 games as a Bear. But on the biggest stage, Frazier's career came to an unceremonious end.
Les Frazier was on his way to a stupendous career. He actually hurt his knee very, very badly in the Super Bowl, getting ready to return a punt on a reverse, I think.
Reverse. He hands it off to Frazier, who cuts to his left across the 50, and Frazier is covered up